I don't know if you guys can hear me. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can hear my audio. Hold on, I gotta check something, you pieces of crap. Alright. Come on. Go, 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 go. Yes. Yes. Come on. The fudge? Huh. Oh, that's coming from that. Huh. Oh, that's coming from that. Huh. That's why. Oh, that's coming from that. Okay. Can you people hear me? Okay. Sorry, I just got a brand new mic.
Pixar movie is now a real-time game, a proper bona fide game that blurs the lines between offline movie render and real-time game one. Obviously, if you dig into the details, you can see areas of sacrifices and it doesn't hold up to the scrutiny, but if you're comparing
Sorry.
contact hardening with drop off, as you can see here, with the red post reflection being clear and then becoming more stochastic and noisy as it runs further away from the contact, being just a diffused colour on the rougher surface nearer the camera. You can see the same on Clank's chin. From his self-reflecting body, his jaw is dirtier, rougher than the bottom layer of his head, so the reflection becomes more stochastic, noisier as his chin moves over and then away. These are an expensive technique and only possible on the PS5, but they deliver some amazing results, which, due to spoilers, I cannot even show you some of the best parts in the game. And all of these reflections, material types and surfaces are used interactively in the gameplay and the cinematics, and they all sample from a BVH, a bounding volume hierarchy, almost like an octree, which then allocates proxy versions of objects in the game, and then the ray trace is then intersected back out or into the screen to work out which objects are in the reflection and then draw that a lower polygonal construction of that object. This works immensely well in the title, and even in gameplay and cinematics they shift smoothly and seamlessly, and it just creates a very encompassing and convincing looking world. Some of the best materials I've ever seen. And the level of improvements and the quality doesn't end there. Combined with the advanced and equally as expensive hair rendering from Insomniac's own spline-based hair technology that they originally used in Miles Morales. Here the individual strands of fur can be seen on Ratchet and Rivet. When wet they clump together and increase in specularity and anisotropy reflectance, giving a silky look. These are also rendered with very small primitives, meaning they self-shadow, adding depth to them with subsurface scattering. As light bleeds through, it achieves some of the best hair in games, and incredibly convincing materials that, like I say, would not look out of place at points in a DreamWorks movie. Astonishingly good. Hopefully some of these examples show. But all of this would be fruitless without something the game has in spades: character and characters. Motion capture is not an option, so some old school keyframed and vertex based animation is front and centre. This gives the game that cartoon offline comedic look, as movements are extreme, exaggerated yet smooth. Nefarious is a perfect example of this, with delayed sudden facial changes using those morph target animations. They stretch something like metal but make it look believable. They define multiple fixed states of model vertices, and then they morph or blend between these shapes to give life and movement to the characters. Now, it can reduce the cost on skinning and CPU, but it's likely done here for aesthetic reasons of the game. Hyper real is their target. But they managed to bring character to inanimate robots like they came from Lost in Space, instilling more life and energy than an Olympic athletics team. From large hulking bosses, hairy workmen or French pirates, each has a distinct personality that shines through their design, materials and animation, and everything makes a significantly strong impact.
Did I do it? Oh, what is this? What's with all the neon?
And then all these elements are capped off into the title. All the animation and materials carry over. That elongated vertex stretching for that cartoon animation, procedural destruction on barriers and armor of shooting down enemies, long collision lifespans as objects bounce and create a very busy and interactive sequence. And then it's all topped off by all those effects, that cracking depth of field as you aim down the scope, or that beautiful per object motion blur that Insomniac are famous for. And then they wrap it all off with particle effects, alpha effects, volumetric light, atmospheric scattering, some of the best ambient occlusion I've seen that's a screen space variety, making everything look solid and beautiful. And they enhance this interaction and believability of the world by using decals heavily in the title. It's got also lots of rocky terrain, and it uses POM, parallax occlusion maps, on a lot of objects hitting the ground and breaking objects, which gives density and depth to scenes. Then it fades back into a standard texture map. And the lighting and shadows throughout the title are very It's simply mixing up cascading shadow maps here and also using proxy capsules to render shadows on the heroes themselves. These are lower quality or lower log versions of the characters, broken down into smaller chunks such as head, arms and legs, and these are then blended with that render of a shadow map, and therefore they use it to contact feet, hands on the ground, and then they can have that smaller chunks such as head, arms and legs, and these are then blended with that render.
Alright. on.
Performance. Now, just before launch, the Sony team Insomniac themselves managed to get a patch out, which has been great because I've been able to patch this version in, so I can now discuss 2 modes of the 3 that are available. There is a performance or ray tracing mode at 60 FPS, a performance mode with no ray tracing at 60 FPS, and then the fidelity mode at 30 with all the bells and whistles turned on. This is what you can see at the moment, and it is the one that looks the best. Shock horror. It's the highest resolution, coming out at 3840 by 2160 using Insomniac's temporal injection anti-aliasing TIA. Now, in all tested sections, it comes out at a fully native 3840 by 2160. It may be dynamic, but I didn't count any points where I saw that. But if it is, TIAA injects that image back anyway, so you always get a crisp, sharp, and overall impressive-looking title. And equally as impressive is that performance metric to go alongside it. 15 minutes of tested footage in this mode, 38 drops, less than 0.1%. It really isn't anything to worry about, and most of those come from those real-time cinematics where it holds a frame or two, so it stops things like textures and physics just jumping around, which can be disconcerting if that did happen. You don't get any of that, so therefore I would hardly say that you would notice any of these drops at all, because jumping from one shot to the next, it's just not apparent. In gameplay, if it does drop, it tends to be the next 16 millisecond refresh cycle, which means 50 milliseconds, so overall it's as solid as it is impressive to look at.
Yeah, right. Today, you will see what losing feels like. Spoiler, it's exhausting.
And now we come to that other mode that's available thanks to the patch they've just released, the one that most will choose, and as I call it, the best of both mode. Performance RT delivers 60 FPS, but all the bells and whistles I just mentioned, with some minor cutbacks. Obviously, resolution is one of them, now targeting 2560 by 1440. Again, it could be dynamic, but I didn't count any points where it was, but I haven't had much time to look at this version, but I have played quite a bit of it. And overall performance, other than when you're warping between worlds here, where it can drop up to 50 milliseconds, and that's very minor when it's loading all that data from RAM back out from the SSD back into RAM in real time as you play. It's absolutely incredible what they're doing here, and it just impresses me every time I see it. And the performance is just the same. It's better than even the 30 FPS mode, targeting 16 milliseconds now half the time. And aside from later sections which I can't show you for spoilers, it can dip down probably to the mid-50s. Outside of that, it's like you're seeing now, a locked 60 FPS, unless it's those real-time cinematics where it holds onto that frame or two where it jumps between scenes, again just to hold that consistency. And like I say, when you're jumping between worlds, you have those little stutters of maybe 50 milliseconds.
Sorry
most
guys,
of the time,
I just got this new mic,
and you wouldn't notice it because you are jumping from one place to the next. The overall impressions from the title I've got are this, from a technical perspective, and certainly just from a gameplay and fun perspective. All of these elements look great, they sound great, and they're excellent to talk about, but they also add a lot to that gameplay. It doesn't reinvent Ratchet and Clank, and not everything's perfect in the title. Nothing truly is. There are some minor areas of coverage, and again, these are minor, but I will point them out. So these areas of warp gates where you can transition within combat to certain fixed points on certain parts of the level, they look good, they feel good, they're a great technique, but they don't really add a great deal to the gameplay and feel a little gimmicky, certainly in comparison to the larger travelling between universes and warping between areas. All of that feels much more impressive and more flamboyant. These are good, like I say, but they don't feel like they add a lot to the combat. And on the combat, the AI and the construction of the enemies, that could be better. I would like to see more variety in enemy types, certainly in the bosses and their attack patterns, just to add a little bit more variety in combat. But I can't really get away from the impressive area of all this travel and the kind of speed we're getting in terms of the minimal impact on performance. And visually, there's a few quirks and issues here, but it is pre-launch code, so some of those might be fixed later on. On the screen space reflection fallback that they use for their ray trace reflections can stand out sometimes as it draws in more detail and characters, and certainly on the foliage and alpha effects that get drawn in, which are not as abundant in that BVH, so they cut some of those areas back, because obviously they're very, very expensive. But again, like I say, I'm being very, very nitpicky here. Ultimately, Insomniac have delivered a true next-generation title on the PlayStation 5. Everything from the visual
Sorry,
quality,
everyone,
use
a
of
little
HDR,
bit,
3D audio and interaction
live.
of the world, the mixing up of that SSD and that data transfer in and out of existence, the use of those haptic feedbacks, that half and full depress of the trigger so you know different weapon types in combat, that full depress when you run out of ammo and that click 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 that comes from it so you don't even need to look at the screen. All of these and much more besides makes the game feel completely impossible on anything other than the PlayStation 5, and that is exactly what next generation is all about, and Insomniac have certainly brought the goods. But with that, I'm out. But if you like all these kind of game-related deep dives into tech, performance, and everything else, keep it IGN and IGN Games. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Hold on, guys. Hey, Matthew! Matthew, hey!
First impressions are key, and since 6 years
you remember
have
that
passed since
mic
Halo
I was
5
looking
Guardians,
in
for
today?
a lot of people like myself, Halo Infinite will be the first Halo multiplayer
Yeah.
experience they've played
Yeah.
at launch, especially since Infinite's multiplayer is
You're not
free
gonna
to play
believe
and
this.
accessible to everyone with an Xbox or PC. And what
Well,
a launch it's
my
been,
birthday
with its
present,
tight
my
4v4
mom got
matches
me the
and
mic.
more chaotic 12v12 big team battles on expertly designed maps. Infinite revives
I'm
and
not joking.
reinvigorates the
I
glorious
literally had
sci-fi
it set up.
action
I
that once
literally
made
live
Halo
streamed
king
with it
among
right now.
multiplayer shooters.
Yeah, sure. Let me, you know what? I can actually do that right now. I honestly am telling you right now, I'm live
First
streaming
off,
the
Halo
Game
Infinite
Awards
looks
while
absolutely
I'm doing
gorgeous.
this with
The
my mini mic,
environments
so I
within
got
each
two
map
mics
are so
now.
detailed and pretty that I'm looking forward to the campaign even
let me
more.
send
The
it
lighting,
to,
settings, and overall look of Infinite bring the futuristic world of Halo to
actually-
modern-day
because I don't
glory.
mind,
The most
they
severe
are
technical
waiting for
issues
the,
I've seen have been some server desync and stutters every so often.
Thank you
I've
for
only
my
experienced one crash in my 20 hours of playtime, so my experience has been pretty steady. Yeah, it's technically in
So,
beta
yeah.
until the single-player
I
campaign
got
comes out on
the
December
freaking
8th,
mic.
but
You,
it's already
hold
polished
on.
to a
I
shine,
wanna know
and
if it's,
343
Do
Industries
you
has
see it?
officially kicked off Season 1, so for all intents and purposes, it's fully launched. You can tell it's launched because there are microtransactions available for sale. The good news is that they're
Yeah,
all
I'm not
cosmetics that
joking.
have no effect on gameplay. The
I
bad news
actually
is
got
that
it
the
every
$10
time to
battle
set it
pass is
up,
pretty lackluster, and the process of earning XP is super slow. Thankfully, that's being tweaked, but again, you don't need to mess with any of that just to play. It just means that the sense of progression could be better. Infinite does a great job of introducing new players to Halo's many weapons and toys with drills and training sessions against its really impressive bot system. When I was ready to go up against real players,
Okay,
the 4v4 arena
my mom got
playlist's
them.
fast-paced matches
The ones we
were
were
and had
looking
me
at.
queuing again and again for hours on end. The only complaint I had about the
I'm not
playlist is
joking.
not
She
being
got
able
me
to
the
choose which
Galaxy
mode you want to
Blitz
play.
Plus.
You can't just check a box to pick Slayer or Strongholds,
Which
you
I'll
have to
be
queue for all
unboxing
5 game
later
modes.
today,
One
but
flag,
I
capture
just
the flag,
literally
capture the flag,
legitimately am
Strongholds,
just
Oddball,
late to
and
the party,
Slayer.
but
But
1
all of
hour
these modes
into
are
the
equally
stream.
fun and infinitely replayable, and while
Actually,
they're
I'm
not super
streaming.
original, they
Yeah, I'm
have
streaming right
formed
now.
the basis of some of the most enjoyable multiplayer arena shooters of all time.
I'm doing my
I
work
do have a
and
few
I'm
gripes
doing
though,
but
especially with
seriously, do
audio.
you want to see my stream?
For one, barely being able to hear a 7-foot-tall,
um,
heavily armored
let me-
Spartan run up
you- I
behind you
think
for a
you're
one-hit
subscribed to
melee
my
kill
channel,
is
I think.
incredibly frustrating.
If
All the
not, I'll
weapons
send
and
you the
effects
text
sound
on
great,
which
but the
channel
number
it
of
is,
times
and
I've been
you
run
can
up
see the
on,
freaking
not even
thing in
crouch
the chat
stealth,
from
and
there.
killed is kind of ridiculous.
Well, I'm gonna be waiting for this. I don't know if
A
I'm
big
gonna
part
be
of the
able
recent
to get
Infinite's
the
matches work
Friday the
so
13th.
well
I'm
is that
hoping to
each of
God
the
I
7
do,
maps for
because I
arena matches
still have
are
a present
incredibly
from
well
my
designed
friends,
to allow for you and your team to fluidly rotate through them,
saying that
grabbing
they
key
probably,
items and
I don't
weapons
know,
as they
but
spawn
got
and
of
sweeping
me,
out enemies.
One of my friends got me a gift.
My favorite map
so.
out of the 7 on the current playlist has to be Streets, thanks to its flashing neon signs, dynamic lighting, and freshly rained upon pavement.
Yeah,
Infinite
I
Strongholds
told you
mode
that I didn't
really
know the
shows off the
price,
superior
so
map design.
I don't know.
In this
Since
capture
this is
point
my
from one spot
birthday
to
present,
another, but at the same time you can also get caught out by yourself and
Yeah.
eliminated, which encourages
But,
you to move as
yeah.
a team.
I'll
I'm
talk to you
impressed
later,
with
dude,
how the
'cause I
map
gotta get
designs
back
take
to
all of
this.
this into consideration, especially on this relatively
Okay.
small scale. Even with Big Team Battle,
Yeah.
the 3 maps are
I'll see you
evenly
later.
balanced for
Bye.
12v12 matches. BTB showcases expansive arenas with enough space for close-range mayhem, long-range sniper plays, rumbling tanks, and flying banshee fighters. I like how, unlike Call of Duty's breakneck-paced 12v12 matches, BTB allows you to catch a few moments of breathing
Oh, I'm
time
sorry
before you
about
engage
that.
in a
I'm a
heated
little
fight.
bit,
You can play all of that casually, but Infinite also includes a ranked playlist available off the drop, which is a great competitive mode for those who want to surround themselves with equally skilled players. In terms of gunplay, the weapons feel decently balanced, though the time to kill is certainly longer than in most other games, and it took me a few matches to get adjusted to. It probably takes a couple shots more than I'd like to down an enemy, and that does make it a little harder to win 1v2s here than in faster games like Apex Legends or Call of Duty. But Halo is very much a game about team play, so if you're smart and playing the objective, you shouldn't be overextending yourself too much. A few of the weapons you pick out of the dispensers on the wall feel a bit weak, especially with guns like the VK Commando, which sounds and looks like a beefy gun that would knock a target flat, but actually takes quite a few extra shots to kill an enemy, even with headshots. And there are a few weapons that I find myself avoiding, like the plasma pistol and the pulse carbine. I just don't like the rate of fire of either of them, and they don't output the amount of damage I need in close quarters fights. That said, the weapon variety is pretty generous. I'm a fan of the Mangler pistol since it rewards you for careful shots and can be used at close or long range. The Bulldog is my favorite shotgun because of its tight spread that can take down a target quickly, and the trusty Needler is always fun. The power weapons such as the M41 Spanker, rocket launcher, and the gravity hammer are great for racking up quick kills, and of course they're limited to a few shots to keep things from getting out of control when you snag one. I'd say the energy sword definitely has 3 to 4 charges too many though. One thing that feels disappointingly inconsistent is the melee. Because you pass through other players instead of bumping into them, it's hard to judge the range, and sometimes it looks like you hit when you don't. The amount of times a melee has not hit from close range when it should gets pretty frustrating. But you can always depend on the classic Halo grenade plays. Calculating the timing on a grenade throw and counting the bounces before it goes off and kills an enemy, or sticking them with a plasma grenade are some of the most rewarding experiences in Infinite's multiplayer. In this game, grenades are an art form. Infinite also makes smart use of its gadgetry. I love jumping in and out of fights with the grapple shot or using the thruster to close in for melee kills. And you've got to try knocking someone off a ledge with a repulsor. They're great toys, and Infinite does a fantastic job of giving us that creative freedom to have fun while slaying. And all of this has come at just the right time too. In fact, Microsoft couldn't have chosen a better moment for Master Chief's comeback, with Call of Duty Vanguard's multiplayer feeling like more of the same, and Battlefield 2042's main modes leaving much to be desired. Infinite's long absent style of team-based multiplayer is the shot in the arm the shooter community really needed right now. It's so nice when a game actually lives up to sky-high expectations. Halo Infinite has been one of the most anticipated games out there since it was first announced 3 years ago. And for its multiplayer component to so fully deliver on the series' classic feel, while also keeping up with the modern-day competition in the FPS genre is a huge achievement. With some fantastic map designs, a collection of straightforward but highly engaging modes for both large and small groups, excellent weapons and gear options, and those delightfully bouncy and sticky grenades, Halo Infinite's multiplayer modes put it at the top tier of competitive shooters. Impressively, it manages to give nostalgic veterans the best of what they remember Halo multiplayer feeling like, while also smoothly introducing new players to the joys of Spartan combat. For more, check out some gameplay footage and our preview of the single-player campaign. And of course, for everything else,
Hey now, think positively, alright?
Resident Evil!
We talked about this.
Badass.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else.
Castle Bell heralds danger. The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again.
Mother Miranda, I regret to inform you that Ethan Winters has escaped that fool Heisenberg. Because he is in my castle and has already proven too much for my daughters to handle. When I find him... No, Mother Miranda. Yes, of course, I understand the importance of the ceremony. I won't let you down.
Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on here?
No. The place is full of nothing but blood and death.
Well, Ethan Winters. There you are.
Who the fuck are you? Let's see what you're really made of. Ethan Winters.
Okay. Hold on real quick, I need to see my booster.
Let's make it epic. Growing up, all I ever wanted was to be a hero, just like the ones in my favorite video games. Ichiba, why not become a hero at 40, right? Cheers! The Dragon Slayer! Turns out, all a hero needs is a quest. I finally found mine, and I'm going to play it my way. They say the city is too wild. Too big.
I'll take my skills to good use.
Too mean to take on yourself. Terminate! I say, with the right friends, anything's possible. And I mean anything. I summon you! What the? These are my friends. This is my quest. And we're about to rise to the top!
What the what?
To say goodbye. I'm such a mess.
If I get copyright claim for this crap, I'm gonna be losing it.
Countdown show for the Game Awards, an event that
Damn,
has become
yes!
absolutely huge for game announcements and reveals. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be coming to you live and breaking down everything we expect to see revealed tonight. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield, and joining me now are my co-hosts, Stella Chung and Brian Altano. How is everyone tonight?
What's up?
Hello. Hello.
We made it. The pre-show to the pre-show to the show.
That's
to the
right.
Show to the, it's good. It's gonna be a big day. Big night.
We're a mere hour away from the Game Awards starting.
Yeah.
This is the pre-show to the pre-show. Really quick, Stella, who do you think's gonna win Game of the Year tonight?
I would really like if Deathloop won.